first thing that Barry says, and I've seen him for many, many years, the first thing he says that we are the continuation of classical music. We have to be the continuation of classical music. The classical harmony is the base of everything. And the first thing he tells you to do is the chromatic scale. Now notice, in time, 1, in time, right? Now, inside this scale, you have what he calls the world. What he means by that, in these 12 tones, you know, on a piano, you have a repetition of these 12 tones 7 times. So inside an octave, you have everything you need. You have intervals, you have minor thirds, you have major thirds, and so on. Obviously, imagination is part of a deal. I can go one up, one down. And maybe, you know, some of you might come out with stuff that I haven't thought of. Then the second thing he says, if you divide 12 by 2, you have 2 all tone scales. Right? 6 and 6. All steps. Then he tells you, if you divide that by 3, if you divide that by 4, sorry, you got 3 diminished chords. And that's also 12. 4 plus 4 plus 4. From this position, if you lower one note at a time, you find 4 dominants chords coming from this diminished by lowering one note at a time. So what did we get? C7, D7, F7, and A flat 7. Right. If you put that together, you have what is known as a diminished scale, formed by the diminished that I have. Sorry, here it is.
Ciao, Andrea.
Ciao. Plus the 4 domina I have found. So B, D, F, A flat. If I put that together, I have a diminished scale that obviously will work on C7. I can resolve it if I want, and then we work on D7. And we work on F7. And we work on A flat 7. Okay? Then, obviously, because it's a relation in between the diminished and these 4 dominants, because these top 4 dominants come from the same diminished that obviously will change name when it change keys, but apparently it's the same shape, right? Now, so I can borrow note. If I have a diminished chord, I can borrow one of the dominant that I have found, not necessarily from a bottom, but I can get it from a top. And I can make my run. Obviously, I can borrow A flat instead of B. Now it's a question of making combination, because I can say, well, I could borrow 2 notes. and 3, and so on. Now this is a close position. He says the 4 voices are soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. Now, one thing that is known in jazz as drop 2, it means when a second voice starting from the top will go at the bottom. And this in jazz is called drop 2. It's actually an inversion. So I can do that and get familiar with that kind of thing, right? Now I can borrow, as I said, the B. Or I can borrow the A flat. Or why not both? And so on. Those 4 triads, we work together too, because I can play B against B. Perhaps if it's easier for you, I can go up half a step, grab the other diminished, yeah, C sharp diminished, lowering 1 note at a time. They will give me C, E flat, G flat, and A. So I stay here, right? Now, so I moved half steps. So I can play C7 against C7, and it sounds like that. Now, I can use the triad of A. Now I can use the triad of F sharp. And now I can use the triad of E flat. So, in other words, I can use the all 4 triads: C, A, F sharp, E flat, and finally go to F. Now, if you want to get, as Barry says, a nice F major sound, you think of play C6 against F. And obviously, in his inversions, okay, obviously this C6 can be changed in F6, and I have a movement. Actually, I could have a chromatic movement, and so I can do it from this inversion, or this, or this. Right, that was for what harmony concerned. Obviously that on a 5 chord, on a dominant. Before the 5, we have a tendency to play the 2, D minor 7. So I can play D minor 7, G7 with an E triad and C major. Now, now I'm in F. Now I went to C. If I want to do that in F, where we were before, I play G minor, and then C7 with A, or G minor, F sharp. I want to try to make melodies also, you know. Then I can play G minor with E flat. I can change some of those triads. I can say G minor 7, C7, F sharp. Now I can say stuff like, let me see, my romance. Yeah, I play A, and then I play F sharp, and then I play. And then, that's an example. So, another really important thing, I mean, he told me so many things, and really important thing, every minor 7 chord, he told me that he found that in a book when he was young, every minor 7 chord corresponds to a 6 chord. What does that mean? G minor 7. If I invert that, I already found B6, B with an added 6. So my G minor 7 become this. And I'm sure that in many videos you have seen Barry talks about the 6 diminished scale. So he add a note in between the 5 and a 6 chord, between the 5 and a 6 tone, sorry. That means that I can alternate this chord with a diminished chord. So I can play a plain G minor 6, G minor 7, sorry, but I could play the diminished before. Then I could play perhaps C sus, and to make a nice C sus, I need a tone and a triad half step down. In other words, C on the bass and B flat. So I can say okay. So if every minor 7 chord corresponds to a 6 chord with the same token, I can say that every half diminished chord corresponds to a minor 6 chords. Right, therefore what harmony concerned.